All right, everyone, welcome back to Not Another Detailer podcast. My name is Charles with Detail Lab, and in today's episode, I have Paul from Dawg Detail out in LA on the podcast, and we're going to go over a few questions and then talk about kind of how the detailing industry, what we think is changing, and what we see for the future of detail. But let me get Paul back in here. All right, Paul,
Hey,
how are you doing?
doing well. How about
Thank
yourself?
you. Doing well, man. Thanks for being the test pig on the new StreamYard platform. I appreciate it.
Of course, man. Glad I can be.
Yeah. Before I move on, why don't you tell us like where you're based out of and like the areas you serve? So go ahead and tell us a little bit about Dog Details.
Yeah, man. So yeah, Top Dog Details. I'm based out of Alhambra, California. It's right outside of Los Angeles, a suburb like right outside. Like I hop on the 10 freeway right here in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
It's like a 5-10 minute drive from where I'm at. But yeah, so I service this area, obviously, Alhambra, Northeast LA, Pasadena, Highland Park, East LA, downtown. I pretty much go anywhere, Redondo Beach. So I service a wide range depending on what services people want, if they're further or not, if it's worth it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just say LA and surrounding areas.
Yeah, for sure. I'm the same way. Um, I service the Huntsville area, but Huntsville, it's like a mini LA. Like there's tons of suburbs around.
Mhm.
And so I'll say, depending on the service, is depending on how far I go, really.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Like you're not gonna probably go for a basic wash that's an hour and a half away, but a ceramic
Yeah,
coating,
yeah.
you'll
Yeah,
drive
yeah.
an hour and a half to go do.
Yeah, yeah. I have I call it my show car detail. It's like my 1 year ceramic, like paint enhancement, no correction. I got one tomorrow, like 45 minutes away, and it was that one of those deals where probably a standard detail. I was kind of pushing it, but
Yeah.
she went ahead and upped it, to like a ceramic service per se. So I was like, yeah, I'll
Mhm.
go out there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. One of the first questions I wanted to get into was like, what inspired you to get into detailing? And did you have any like previous detailing experience before?
Yeah, so backtrack, like, I guess so I started my business a year ago, and then I had detailed for somebody for a year prior to that.
Nice.
But before that, I had no, like, prior detailing experience. I know a lot of guys who get into the industry, they're car guys, they're, like, really into cars and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I'm not at all. Like, I seriously don't know much about cars, makes, models, or anything like that. I've grown a respect for them since I've been working on
Yeah.
them, but it's never been, like, a huge interest of mine. Uh, so what originally got me into just detailing in general is, so I was working a job that I necessarily got, like, really tired of, and then one of my coworkers was like we were talking about just, like, different, like, entrepreneurship ideas, and he's like, "Yeah, you can make decent money, detailing," and, he's like, "Being a mobile detailer." So he was showing me these YouTube videos, like, I made $1,000 in a day, all that
Yeah.
stuff,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
was like, "What? You can do that?" By washing cars? So, so yeah, I started to research it some and stuff like that, and I was just like really tired of where I was working. And me and that guy were actually we were gonna start a business together, but just some stuff fell through, life circumstances, like it didn't work. Um, and then he actually let me know though, like, hey, there's a detailer in LA who's hiring. You don't have to have experience, and then I kind of just went for it from there. So that's how I kind of got into detailing. I worked for that guy, his company for a year in LA, like downtown LA area, and just learned pretty much everything in the craft. Not everything, but I learned a lot within the
Yeah.
craft from
Yeah.
him, other coworkers, and stuff like that.
Yeah. I bet being in LA, you got like a wide range of different stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Huge range, and like he was a young guy that I was working for, and he had landed a dealership deal. So like I just
Oh,
got so many perspectives. There were like older guys that were working for him, like that had been detailing for like 20 plus years, who did stuff like a totally different style than detailers today. But
Yeah,
they still had a lot of like things that were helpful that I learned from them too. They were getting down with
yeah,
the Walt rotary with like a huge
yeah,
like that, but
yeah.
go down on cars, and they taught me a lot, and I just learned a lot from that whole experience.
So what's been like one of, I would say, challenges or struggles starting up detailing in your area or just in general?
Yeah. Let's see. I mean, I was really lucky with how I started and just starting off with business off the bat. I really struck gold with that, but like, I mean, it's saturated out here. There's a lot of detailers out here.
Dude,
And
we'll put that in quotes.
yeah, a lot of competitive prices. You're fighting against guys who are doing
Yeah,
$25 car washes and $45
yeah,
car washes and stuff like that. But like there is that, but there's also that customer base for that. But then there's customer base for other prices too, because LA is
yeah,
so big. I feel like there's kind of like a niche for everybody. If you want to just do like mobile car washes for like a pretty like very affordable price, then like there's
yeah,
customers who want that, and those are the customers that like you and I probably wouldn't want anyway. Um, so that I feel like the challenging part for me is just like was figuring out everything on my own, because when I was working for somebody, like the pressure, there was not as
yeah,
much pressure and stuff like that. But once I started doing it on my own, it's like you just run into things that like you wouldn't
yeah,
and I mean, I learned
yeah.
so much like my first 3 months doing it on my own in the summer. Freaking
I think we started. I think we started about the same time.
okay.
I think I started Detail Lab. I think it was like July of last year.
Okay. Yeah.
So probably roughly the same time. Yeah, dude, it was brutally hot. Like I don't know how it was in LA, but in Alabama, it was like one of the hottest summers in like
Yeah.
a long time, and it was so hot.
It was ridiculously hot. We didn't necessarily have the humidity, but we had
Yeah,
the sun just beating down and it scorching.
yeah. And then at the time when I first started, I was like trying to book 3 details a day. Like I was
Um,
just like hungry for it, and now
yeah,
I'm like I may do 2 a day if it lines up right. Like, I'm
yeah,
not trying to kill myself this summer again.
yeah. No, me either, bro. We'll see how it goes. But back to that question, I think one of the
Yeah.
most challenging things for me over the time has been figuring out my prices.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's been one of the things that like I've kind of struggled with and have like played with,
Mhm.
and I'm like, how do I like how does this correlate with this, like and I've kind of like I've played with different things, struggled with different things, and I've kind of like I feel like I've come to like a better place now with it. But when I was starting, I was talking to you in Florida about it. I was getting
Yeah.
burned a few times where I
Yeah,
had
yeah.
people using my less like my cheapest package, and then their cars would be the worst. They would need like a $300 detail, but I would be doing like a $70 to $80 detail, spending like 3 to 4 hours on
Yeah.
like this is not worth it. I'd be pissed the whole time while I was working and stuff like that. So
Yeah. I struggled with that too, and when I first started, I had, like, entry-level detail and a more advanced premium whatever detail,
mhm.
and I think I spoke to you about it. Like now, if it's my first time detailing a car, like it's the more expensive package, and then if you hop on a maintenance plan, then we can talk about like the cheaper option, right?
Yeah,
Because I got burnt like that, and I was like, I'm getting tired of this.
yeah,
Doing, a $300 detail for $150 just isn't fun.
yeah,
But yeah, I
sucks.
definitely struggle with my standard detail prices, and
Yeah,
then I got them figured out now where I'm pretty comfortable with where they're at for my standard detail. And I'm
yeah,
always I'm always playing around with my ceramic coating prices, just because it's just the market's so weird here and it's so
mhm,
saturated that I can't get away with charging what I think I deserve just
yeah,
because like it's so many people doing it,
Yeah.
and it's so saturated here.
Yeah.
And so that's what I struggle with currently is like the ceramic coating prices and trying to
Yeah.
get people to understand, like educate people on the difference between me charging them $1,500 for a ceramic coating and then the guy next door charging, $750 or whatever the price is.
Yeah.
It's so most people don't quite understand like there's a difference in like the service you're gonna get
Yeah.
going with like a professional rather than somebody who probably doesn't even have like insurance or a business license or anything like that.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Something I figured out with the pricing is uh another detailer emphasized this and like really taught me this is setting expectations like clearly
yeah.
with the customer knowing what they're getting. So say it is a jacked up car and they choose
Hmm.
my least expensive my option, really setting the expectations. Okay, you chose this, but your interior needs a full interior, but this is really a light vacuum and a dust off. This is all that is,
Yeah.
and then they know like you're like, this is not even scratching the surface of your car. If you're okay with that, I'll move forward. If not, then like you need to upgrade.
Yeah. So I do that when I tell my customers what's included in my package, like I'll give them the list of everything that's included. And then I generally say, this would get the vehicle looking as good as possible without polishing or like carpet extraction.
Yeah.
Right. I go ahead and like set that expectation of like they're still gonna have scratches probably. And if it's
Mhm.
super dirty on the inside, like either you have it's an upcharge to get like a carpet extraction.
Yeah.
But yeah, setting expectations is huge.
Yeah.
That kind of like transitions into what I wanted to talk about next about like what advice would you give people who are maybe starting out or want to start a detailing business? Because I think there's still room for quality detailers out there,
Yeah.
like quote unquote professional level detailing.
Yeah.
And so, what advice would you give somebody who's like maybe watching this and they don't really know the first step to take or steps to take?
Yeah. So one thing I would advise somebody is because I see it a lot out here. I don't know if you necessarily see it in Huntsville, but like young guys like eager to start out and then getting
Yeah,
like super nice rig, like getting like a whole van completely outfitted and stuff like that. Which is
yeah,
cool. It's efficient and effective from like when I've worked with other people with like super dope setups. But I would
yeah,
say it's not necessary to put
yeah.
yourself in
Definitely not.
and like putting yourself in debt starting off. So like that'd be one thing I would advise somebody. Like you don't need the craziest setup. Like see what you have like already and what you could work with that, and then get the tools and the things that you find are necessary for you to really start and then move forward
Yeah,
from there. That's one thing because I hate seeing it because I've seen it. I've seen guys start off and like they go to like a shop here that does awesome setups and they put themselves in a
yeah,
hole, and then they're sitting there and they don't have business, like and they
yeah,
haven't figured that side of it out yet, where it's like the business side of acquiring customers and stuff like that.
yeah. Detailing is honestly probably 75-80% business marketing side and like 20
100%.
25% actually detailing.
Yeah.
You can be the best detailer in the world, but if you don't know how to like get your name out or get your brand out, it's super difficult, especially in a high traffic area or high competition as like LA. Like I can
Hmm.
see that being like, you're almost like drowning. There's
Yeah.
so many people
Yeah.
doing it. So like, how do you separate yourself from other people? It's
Yeah.
like that's huge. Yeah, it's starting out is like super stressful. Like one thing I always tell people is know your means or know your boundaries. Like if you're starting
Mhm.
out and you've never polished a car before, like I
Yeah.
see it all the time on the Facebook groups or like I have this customer who wants paint correction. How much do I charge? Or and it's like, have you done it before? And they're like, no. like that's definitely not the time and place to learn. So like taking a
Yeah.
course, I don't know. Have you gone through the Shine Academy?
No, so I haven't taken their course.
Okay,
I
I
did
wasn't
take.
sure.
Yeah, so I've actually haven't done anything with atoms, but I took a course out here with this guy. His name's Keith. Keith's Touch. You
Hmm.
should look him up. He's a OG in the detailing game out here. He's incredible. He's an incredible detailer, probably like the best I've ever seen. And he's been in the
Yeah,
game
yeah,
for a while. He does courses for people, and it's his own certificate. It's not like associated with a,
like a
a
brand.
brand or something like that,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
he definitely could do. But yeah, so that was the course I took for paint correction, DA paint correction, and then ceramic coating.
Yeah, I definitely think it's worth if you're starting out to take a class, whether it's something you did through like an individual or Adams or Rupes, just to get familiar with the equipment and
Hmm.
then go practice on your own vehicle or your family's vehicle or get test panels.
Yeah.
Definitely don't just start off with with a customer car. But
Yeah. 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 There, you could definitely have a liability there. You could,
yeah, especially if
I
you're
wouldn't
starting off and you don't have insurance, you know,
yeah.
or you don't
Yeah.
you don't have money set aside to fix something.
Exactly.
It could
Yeah.
be tough. You can get yourself in a little pickle there.
You could. You definitely could. I wouldn't want to. I
uh,
wouldn't want to like tell detailers maybe not to do something they haven't done before, but
yeah,
uh, because I mean, I've had situations where it's like, oh, I actually haven't done this, but I'm going for it, you know. But
yeah,
yeah, things like that, I would say you would probably want some experience with it, and even if you don't have experience, like pick up somebody for a day who does, you know. Like there's always things you could
yeah,
do like that, where it's like you don't lose the customer, but like say like Charles lives in my area and I'm like, this guy's experienced. Let me see if he could work with me for like
yeah.
$200 today or something like that, you know?
We don't. Mitch and I actually talked about that when we were in West Palm, and we don't have that happen here a lot. I know, like in LA, like you and Kevin and all y'all like kind of work together every now and then,
Yeah.
but like we don't have that happen here. And Mitch and I were talking, and we were like, if a new detailer reached out to us and asked us to show them how to do something or paint correct or something like that, like we would take it on and
Yeah.
teach them the basics at least, and maybe have them more comfortable doing it, and they can go out and hone their craft on their own. But
Yeah.
like the bare bones, like how to hold it, or
Yeah.
what to do, what to look for, stuff like that. Like we would because I don't really see anybody in my area as competition per se. Just like I know my value and the or like the services I'm offering, so I don't mind teaching somebody how to do that, just because I'm not worried about them taking my clients or whatnot.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we definitely don't have that around here where people reach out and ask, for your help or
Why do you
anything
think
like
that?
that. Like I don't know. I think it's just ego, cutthroat up here. Like everybody just wants to do it on their own.
I could see that, bro.
Um,
Because so when I was starting, I was like really thinking like, so I'm from Georgia, Savannah, Georgia,
yeah,
and I'll move back that way at some point in my life, and I was thinking like, oh, I wonder like what the detailing scene is out there, you know. And I was just trying to reach out to some detailers out there and just be like, yo, what's it like? Like, is there a need? Like, is there clientele? Are people interested? And I couldn't get a hold of anybody, bro. Like I would like leave messages and like I would call people, like nobody wanted to talk. People were short with me and stuff like that. So I
yeah,
can see it probably being similar to, I mean, what Huntsville may be like.
yeah. And I wish I had somebody here that was like a Mitch or a Paul or a
Mhm.
Kevin or a Francisco, like a buddy who's not really competition, and you
Yeah,
can chat back and forth and or pick up for a day if you need help or something like that.
yeah,
But man, it's just like here it's just not the thing people do.
yeah,
And I don't know why, but
yeah.
that's interesting to think about, like the differences between just cities.
Yeah,
It's
definitely.
I don't know. That's something to think about. And I've never reached out to another detailer. I've seen a couple post on Facebook. They're like their service is super cheap, and I wanted to reach out and be like, dude, do not do that. Like don't be that guy.
Yeah.
Because if you like price your services super cheap, say like in Huntsville, I'll just use Huntsville. It's probably like around $300 for like a full detail, like on a sedan,
Hmm.
right? In and out, decon wash, and just like a spray on rinse off sealant.
Yeah.
And like I see people on Facebook, they're like the same type service, but they'll be like, oh, $125. And I want
Mm.
to be like, don't do that. Like,
Yeah.
you may get busy at first, but you get 6 months in and you're like, man, this kind of sucks. I'm doing a lot of work. I'm going to raise my prices to $300, like the average price.
Mhm.
Well, now you got to do the whole, you know, research over again and acquire customers.
Yeah.
And it's a whole different customer base. The people who are going to pay $300 for a detail than $125 for a detail. So
Exactly.
you basically alienated your whole clientele group, and now you got to go out there and acquire a whole different clientele group. And it's
Hmm.
just not, to me, it's not worth doing. Like, when I started out, I did market research and found out how much people were charging in my area, and I maybe undercut them by like $50 or so.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then now, like I'm not I'm more expensive than most of them now,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's just how it is. But I don't think that's a good like strategy long term, going in and like starting off super cheap.
I agree.
Like,
Agree. Yeah.
and if you think like your skills aren't up to that level yet, then maybe reach out to another detailer and see if you can shadow them, and
Hmm.
until you feel comfortable enough to charge like a respectable amount in your area. And it,
Yeah.
it all depends on where you live too, because some areas you can get more for the same service as others, and
Hmm.
it's definitely interesting. Different
Yeah.
pricing in different areas.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah.
What How do you think like networking has helped you in detailing in your business?
Hmm. Yeah. No, I think networking has helped a ton. I mean, that's how I met Kevin from
Mhm.
Fluff. And that was I was downtown and I saw him pulled over working on a car, and I just like pulled over and was like, "Yo, like what's up, man? Like I'm getting into detailing and blah blah blah." We chopped it up, exchanged numbers and Instagram, and that's how I met him. And then we just chatted through Instagram and stuff like that, and
Yeah,
showed support for one another. And then
that's
like
cool. Yeah, I didn't know how y'all met. That's cool.
so random,
Yeah,
bro.
Kevin. Yeah, Kevin's a good guy, man. I like
Yeah,
Kevin.
yeah,
Yeah, he's
yeah. It was
funny. He definitely is like the light natured funny guy in the group.
For sure. Yeah, he's great. But it was so random, bro. Like I literally saw him on the street, was like, oh, I'm gonna say what's up to this guy, and then just said what's up to him, and then I mean now he's invited me to go and work with the Adams team, at these different events around
Yeah.
the region. So that's pretty
How
cool.
how um how did Francisco become part of the group?
Francisco. So I didn't meet Francisco until we flew out for Scottsdale last
Oh,
event.
really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. So that's when I met him at the airport. That was my first time meeting him in person.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Which
had no idea.
we've known each other forever,
Yeah,
but
yeah. That's how Mitch and I
literally,
were, because when um when we were there, Aaron asked how long. They're like, how long have you known each other? Talking about Mitch and I, and we were like, yeah, we met the same time we met you. They
yeah,
were like, oh, we thought y'all known each other for years.
that's hilarious. Yeah.
Yeah,
But yeah, so that's how I met Francisco, and then I think so Kevin was the connection. I think
yeah,
Kevin had Francisco help him or something with a detail or something like that. They're based in the same area, so
yeah,
so
yeah. Yeah,
but
that's cool. I didn't know you didn't know Francisco until Scottsdale.
yeah. Yeah,
That's
pretty
awesome. Dude,
yeah.
I really like the group we had down in West Palm.
Yeah.
West Palm was a little bit slower, so like we were able to chat more like within the groups because like I feel like Scottsdale it was like so busy and
Yeah,
their teams were just off doing their own thing the whole time where we really didn't get a chance to like talk too much. And
yeah,
then obviously we were at like different houses in Scottsdale, so it was a little bit tough to get to know the groups. But like the group we had at West Palm, I felt like was really good.
yeah,
Like,
yeah. No, I agree.
and I think that was like the first time they've gone through two shows without sending anybody home too.
oh
Which,
yeah,
yeah, I think Scottsdale was like the first time they've ever had a show where they didn't send anybody home, from what I remember.
yeah. That's crazy. Yeah, from the
Yeah,
stories, it sounds like it would happen pretty frequently. You know.
dude. Yeah, some people like I can see it's this is not made for everybody. Like
Hmm.
it's a lot of people don't realize how hard that it is. Like Scottsdale was rough.
Yeah, they were
Like
long days. They were long.
every day, 2 weeks straight of detailing 10, 12 hours a day. Like
Yeah,
it was rough.
it was. Yeah,
West Palm was a little bit more like you could breathe
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
and
It
lay
was. It
back
was. It
and
was
have
more
fun.
relaxing. Yeah,
Dude,
definitely.
for sure. It was way more relaxed. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Um, so what Mitch and I were also talking about, because we found out on our drive down to Florida, like we're terrible at our work life balance because we got down there and we were like, what do we do now? And
Yeah.
like we were in Florida and there's like nothing to do. Went to a couple of outlet stores, but how
Uh-huh.
do you differentiate your work and your life balance? Like, is there like an off switch where you get off at the end of the day and you don't think about work, or are you like crazy like us and like that's basically all you think about?
Hmm. Um, so I mean, being a business owner, like the work never stops, you know? It's I mean, I guess if you have it set up to where it does stop. But I mean, for me, it's pretty ongoing. I mean, you finish your details for the day, you come home, and then there's stuff to do on top of that. You have to like reach out to customers, or you have customers calling, reaching out to you, kind of
Yeah,
at all hours. Then you have to keep up with like if you're posting on social media, you got to keep up with that, and that can burn you out too. So there's it's kind of just like it doesn't stop, and
yeah,
it can be draining, and it could be really draining. Something that I have done, and my wife has helped me a lot with it as well. More recently, I've started implementing it. Is like I will take a day off or 2 days off during the week, where before it was like I'd be grinding, and sometimes it'd be like a few weeks till I had a day off or something like that, and that would just like
yeah,
like you get tired of detailing, you get tired of like everything when that's happening. So for me, like
yeah,
taking a day or two off has been like really awesome.
yeah,
But if I take like a random Tuesday off, like yesterday, I set aside Tuesday, like I didn't take any
yeah,
customers. If customers call me, I'll tell them like, oh yeah, I'm not available today, whatever. Um, and like I went to a coffee shop and had a latte and worked on my computer, like set up some ads and things like that. Um, so that was pretty nice. Um, for me, like the issue isn't necessarily like it's say like at night I'm hanging out with my wife. I'm not like necessarily churning through my head like things I need to do with my business or like
oh see,
ideas.
I am, I'm
Yeah, so
terrible.
I'm not really I don't care about it enough for that, I guess. Like I do, but I
Yeah,
don't. So like I am able to like chill and spend time with my wife or
yeah, it's interesting to see the difference between people and their work life balance. Like Mitch and I, it's super difficult for us to like shut our brains off and
yeah,
not think about the business. When you're just sitting there watching TV at night, like it's for me, it's always I feel like there's always something I could be doing,
yeah, yeah,
and yeah, I have like it's a good and bad mindset, but whenever I start something or do something, like I want to be the best at it. And
yeah,
it almost gets to a point where it like consumes your life almost.
Yeah.
So trying to switch that off is, I take Mondays off for the most part, at least. So like I have one day where I won't work necessarily. I'll do like laundry and like towels and get my van organized for the week.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, the work life balance it can be difficult, especially starting off. Your first
Yeah.
year or two, it's hard.
Yeah. The first years, like you really do have to just work a lot, like you just have to
Yeah,
really like this year of my life is probably the hardest I've ever worked, even though like I've gone to college full time, worked full time, like I've balanced both of those in the past. But like owning my
yeah,
own business, it has been the hardest I've ever had to work, just in regards to just everything, the physical
yeah,
aspect of it, and then everything else that comes with it. It's definitely like it definitely takes a lot of work and a lot of hard work starting
yeah.
off.
Where do you see like detailing going in the future? Like the future of detailing, any new, I don't know, crazy claims of ceramic coatings or whatnot?
Well, I
Like,
mean, there's those self-healing coatings now that they're coming out with, so
yeah,
that's pretty
I think
crazy.
what Fine Labs I think has one. That's the only one I can think of. I don't know how I feel about those.
Yeah.
Um, and it's funny. I recorded an episode of Detail and Chill today. So this is my third video recording today,
Wow.
which is nice to have like content in the
Yeah.
bank. But I talked about it on there. Somebody asked me about like the ceramic coating industry, and it's weird for me to say because I'm a detailer and I'm in the industry, but there's so much like BS in the ceramic coating industry.
Oh, 100%.
And like, I don't know if System X is going to watch this, but I'm a System X installer, and I had to go through like a training program to get certified through System X, and now they just require you to like send a before and after photo of you
Yeah.
using their product, right?
Heard that.
And I'm like, bro, like, really? And I also hate how they market their coatings. Like, they have a 3, 6, and 10-year coating, right?
Yeah.
And they claim the 10-year like a lifetime of the lifetime coating, I'm assuming, of the vehicle.
Yeah.
But I'm like, in the fine print though, what customers don't realize is like you have to bring that car back to the detailer or a certified System X detailer once a year, and they essentially have to put another ceramic coating on top of that coating.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like it's not a 10-year coating. Like it, and I'm not talking trash about their product because they
Yeah.
have one of the to me one of the best products on the market and the easiest to apply. But I'm like, all right, if we just like reverse and maybe market this 10-year coating as a 5-year coating, which is
Mhm.
what I do. Like I market all of their coatings half the time that they do.
Yeah.
And if they were just to market their 5-year coat or their 10-year coating as a 5-year coating, like it would blow every other 5-year coating out of the water.
Yeah. Yeah.
And but I guess they do that just to make that bold claim,
Yeah.
and get the name out there. And
Yeah.
that's one of my biggest pet peeves, like in the ceramic coating industry, is
Yeah.
like all these like outlandish claims when it comes to the durability. And then uh like I have customers, it happens at least once a week. They'll contact me, some other detailer ceramic coated their vehicle, and they're like, it's not working anymore. And, they don't know anything about like a reset wash. Their
Mhm.
detailer didn't tell them about that. And then I want to be like, well, why are you contacting me? Like I didn't put the coating on. And then, come to find out most of them, the detailers aren't around anymore.
Yeah.
So it's like, go figure. And then I'm like, all right, well, what coding is it? And they don't know. I'm like,
Yeah.
cool. So I don't know what to do. I go and do a reset wash, and if it comes back, then
It's a
I
life.
tell them. If not, then I'm like, hey, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but it needs to be redone.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. That makes sense. The durability of coatings is always interesting. The claims that companies make, and then whether or not it's true or not, and then just how much goes into that too,
I
like
know. Yeah.
maintenance goes into it, like how the car is stored, like is it do you park outside on the street every night? Like, or do you have a driveway, or do you have like a garage or something, like all of that factors into it as well. So, and the big thing is maintenance. Like a lot of people, like I've experienced, like they want a coating, but then they don't want to pay for it to be maintained properly monthly. So it's like
Yeah.
your coating's going to be shot in like 6 months to a year because like you're not going to take
Yeah.
it. You're going to take it to drive through car washes, or just like places that are using harsh chemicals and things that aren't going to upkeep your coating. So yeah, I think part of that's pretty frustrating. And then what also is frustrating is people making claims of coatings, or that's a claim of a coating that maybe not be true, but then like a claim of a coating that it'll offer more protection than it actually does, like
Oh
say,
yeah, scratches and
yeah, like people thinking that a ceramic coating is going to prevent a rock chip, and
yeah,
that, and it's not. It's mainly like
yeah,
it's just to upkeep the paint. Like it's great protection from UV rays and environmental stuff, and like light swirls from scratching. But like other than that, like
yeah. It's
I was gonna say, it's a wax. It's like a wax or sealant, but it's harder, and it's just gonna last longer. So you don't have to continually wax or apply a sealant like every 3 months or so. But
yeah. Um, well, one last question, and I'll let you get out of here. Probably, I don't know what time is it there. Like 5. You probably want to eat
12:30.
dinner.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I asked Mitch this, and we had a really good discussion about it. But do you see detailing as an art, or like what form of detailing do you consider an art? I guess if that makes sense.
Yeah. Um, I would say, yeah, there's different aspects of detailing that I would consider like there to be artistic elements and value in. And I mean a lot of industries where it's like hands-on work, like I would compare it to almost like woodworking or something like that,
Oh yeah,
because you're forming something into something else, and you have to be creative, and it's unique based on the detailer and how much experience you have. You could play around with like different methods. You could come up with your own methods and things like that. um
yeah,
so I do think it does have artistic elements to it. Like if you get what a detailer can do to a car is pretty awesome. If it's a beat car, like what a detailer could do with a buff and a polish, and really restoring life back into something. I think that's a huge part of it. It's like
yeah,
restoring life, like the the car in itself. I feel like that being made is a piece of art, like whatever it is, like the cars we've worked on
yeah,
at Barrett Jackson, like those are in themselves a piece of art. But then
yeah,
those could come from the factory, like flawed. They could have
yeah.
mistakes in the paint. They could still have,
Ferrari.
yeah, like whatever. Like it could come like jack still, or
Just
it.
my opinion. I'll put that in there. It's just my opinion, Ferrari. So I don't get sued.
Right. Um, but yeah, so it could be a new car, or it could like off the lot, or it could be a car that's 10 plus years old. A detailer can, like, it's a piece of art, but then they could put their art into it as well and really revive a car, or bring out things in that car that weren't in it when it came from the dealership.
Yeah. Do you watch Larry from Ammo NYC on YouTube?
When I first started, I watched some of his videos.
Yeah.
Nothing
I
recent though.
think like what he does, I would consider almost art. The vehicles he gets are like super trashed, and when he's
Mhm.
done with it, they're restored, or back to at least a respectable product.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like I think most detailing could be considered like an art form, uh, but I really think you got to get into like what Larry does, or the heavy paint correction, or taking a barn find and making it like
Yeah,
respectable again. Yeah,
yeah,
that's interesting. I always like to hear other people's opinions, because some people like I'm sure my girlfriend would be like, no, it's not art. Like if she
Oh,
doesn't like understand what goes into like
yeah,
you could have 3 or 4 days working on a vehicle.
yeah.
And like, most people don't understand the amount of work that goes into something like
Hmm.
that. Before I forget, I meant to ask this earlier. How did you come up with your name, Top Dog Details? Because well, let me tell you, let me backtrack. Let me tell you a story. This is what I think about every time I see your name. So I went to LA for Shine Academy for
Yeah.
Adams Polishes, and I had a rental car, and I turned on the radio,
Oh
and
no.
I'm sure you heard it.
Oh,
The top dog law, dude. So every time I see your name, I just like it takes me back to being in LA and just hearing that on the radio. But I've been meaning to ask you, like, how do you come up with your name?
that's the worst commercial. The guy's like, he's like screaming.
Yeah.
Uh, I didn't hear that name of that lawyer or whatever the heck it is till like
Yeah.
um there were a couple things that factored into it when I was chopping it up with my friend when we were talking about starting our business. We were throwing out names and I was like, what about Top Dog Details? And
Yeah.
he was like, no, I'm not feeling it. But I mean, I'm from Georgia, so the
Yeah.
Bulldogs, and that's kind
Yeah.
of that's how they spell like the dogs, you know. So
Yeah.
that
That's what
factored
I
into
figured.
it. And then
Yeah.
also, I love hip hop. So I don't know if you know about Top Dog Entertainment. It was
Okay.
Kendrick Lamar was like signed to a label called Top Dog Entertainment, so TDE.
Yeah.
Um, so those are like both factored into it. And I was like, oh, this is like a badass name. So that's why I came up with it. I would probably not go with this name if I were to start like now. I would just name it like my last name Details or something like that because
Yeah.
I think like the clientele like if I'm a rich person in like San Marino and I see Top Dog
Yeah.
Details,
Top
like
dog.
I'm not necessarily like that's the guy I want to go with, you know?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. Like I look at people's naming their, and we're like going long, but whatever. Like
Yeah.
naming their business, and I can see how people would want their business name to reflect their personal name. Like because whenever I was coming up with Detail Lab, I was like going back and forth with names and with my name in
Mhm.
it, without it. And one of the reasons I didn't put my personal name in the business was if I ever decided to, if it ever got to a point where I could franchise it or sell it,
Yeah.
like if somebody wanted to buy Detail Lab, I didn't want them to have to go through the hassle of like renaming it,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
And so that's like the one of the things that factored into that. And I don't know if it ever get that big, but like I didn't want them to worry about having to rename it and me
And
not be a part of it anymore. But
yeah.
it's definitely a good, like if you ever move back to Georgia, and I know like you know your thoughts of moving back to Georgia, but like that's definitely a cool name to have like when you're back down there because
It would be a good
people
Georgia name.
probably, yeah, people probably feed off that. Like I don't know anybody in Alabama that has like a War Eagle detailing or Roll Tide detailing, which
Yeah.
I'm sure probably in the college town, I'm sure somebody does.
Probably for sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, definitely into like Tuscaloosa, Auburn. I'm sure has a college themed detailer.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt with the colors and everything.
Yeah, yeah. But is there anything that you wanted to like speak about, or any questions, or anything on your mind?
Um, hmm. I didn't really come with anything prepared, so I am curious though, like how like what is the customer not knowledge but interest
Mhm.
in like a mobile detailer in Huntsville? Because like out here, everybody's not everybody, but it's pretty popular that there's mobile detailers that people come to your house, come to your work, and detail your car. Would you say like the radar, just like it being on people's radar at all? Like, what's that look like out there?
Yeah, it's interesting. There's some people on Facebook that know, like they'll reach out, or they'll post, like I'm in like a community groups, and they're like looking for a detailer, and then most people probably don't know like their mobile detailing is even a thing.
Yeah.
Like, I get customers all the time will message me and be like, "Oh, when can I stop by and you give me a quote?" Which I do. I offer drop off service at my
Yeah.
house. Um, but I'm like, I can come to you. I'm out working. Like I can just swing by your house, and they're like, "Are you mobile?" I'm like, "Yeah, I have a whole like legit setup.
Yeah.
Everything I need, I can come to you."
Uh-huh.
And yeah, I would say most people don't. Is that's not even on their radar that like a mobile detailing is a thing. Because
Yeah.
honestly and truly in Huntsville, uh, there really isn't too many people who have like a whole legit rig where they don't need
Mm.
water, they don't need power. You
Yeah.
know, there are a couple guys who have trailers with water tanks and everything they need. I'm not going to name any names, but they're not licensed or insured or
Hmm.
anything like that. So it's very few of us who are actually have a legit business, like a legit fully mobile business in Huntsville.
Yeah. Okay.
Um, and we have there are two professional detail shops that are super popular, and they it's kind of frustrating because one of them's been doing it for about 10 years, and he kind of has like the supercar high end market, and the
Yeah.
other one does too, but not quite as much as the other this first one.
Hmm.
And I get customers all the time that have gotten details from other detailers, and they come to me because they weren't happy with like the service,
Yeah.
and like knowing how much that they paid for their service, it like kind of ticks me
Mhm.
off. I'm like,
Yeah.
man, these guys are supposed to be the best shop around, and their customers are coming to me for a better service.
Yeah. 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 That's
Yeah.
crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, but I would say most people are still under the assumption that to get their vehicles detailed, like they have to drive it somewhere.
Take it in somewhere. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
And then I'm
but
curious, what about like detail supply shops? Like
mm,
for us, like it's awesome. Like there's
yeah,
literally like 5 minutes away from me, and they have all of the top quality products.
yeah. So funny you said that. My brother and I have been talking about potentially opening a detail supply store in Huntsville
Yeah.
because it honestly sucks here.
Okay.
Like we have one shop, so we have a local uh, manufacturer that manufactures and sells their own chemicals. It's called
Yeah.
Showcar Products,
Uh-huh.
and so one of the shops like exclusively sells their stuff,
Yeah.
and they don't really have anything else. They have like a bunch of their products, and then they sell like some Wizard stuff, some Maguire's, like very very limited on anything else other than Showcar stuff. And
Hmm.
then we have another smaller store, and I honestly haven't even been in there, but
Okay.
just from what I can gather off their website, like they don't have Car Pro and Kosh Kimi and the
Yeah.
top brands, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it sucks here. There's nothing, um, and I've been trying to do a little bit of research to see if Huntsville could support like a legit detailing store because that's something I would love to do is
Yeah.
to bring in. But then my brother and I have a conversation about if other detailers in the area would go that extra mile like I do and buy quality products, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That's true.
So so it's a struggle is like determining whether it's worth it in our market and
Yeah.
would people go that extra mile to buy a quality product rather than just buying like the cheapest stuff they could find.
Yeah, and it's like how aware are they even? And then like educating, like you would almost have to like make them aware and then educate and then show them why it's worth it. And then be like, now you need to
Yeah,
raise prices because you're buying
yeah,
these products.
and I would I would go out on a pretty heavy limb and say I'm probably one of the only detailers, mobile detailers at least in Huntsville that like even use like Car Pro stuff or
Interesting.
Kosh Kimi. Like
Yeah.
most of them that they because I go and look at like their website and I'm always trying to figure out how to better my website, or I go to like their social medias, and some of them will have like videos of them detailing or whatnot, and it's most of them use the Show Car Products, which is the local brand, because
Yeah.
it's like the cheapest stuff you can buy. Like it's
Yeah.
it's fairly cheap. You can buy in bulk.
Yeah.
So that's what most of them are using.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say very many are using like CarPro, Akash Kimi. What's a couple other ones? Gion.
Yeah. Shine
There's just
Supply.
not. Yeah, Shine Supply, which I still got to try some of their stuff.
Yeah, they're
I
really
know it's a big West Coast.
mm,
Yeah, it's the detailing world here is crazy. This is like one reason I kind of wanted to start doing social media stuff and YouTube
yeah.
and podcasts, was to try to educate potential customers on the differences like between detailers, and not all
Yeah.
detailers are the same. And
Mm-hmm.
there's a reason why you're spending more money with me than like the next guy.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that makes sense, man. That makes sense. That could be a difficult market, because I mean, it's like it's just because LA, so many people like there is what you're talking about out here, but then there's just like other layers of it. There are the people who are making their own products and selling them for maybe
yeah,
like super prices, and then there's people out here making like really good quality products as well. And then there's the good quality, like name brand known stuff that you can buy at shops as well. But yeah, it's just such a different market than anything out here, you know. So
yeah.
yeah,
Huntsville's growing. Like Huntsville's the biggest city in Alabama now.
that's
Uh,
crazy.
yeah, so I think it's like over 400 or 450,000 now.
Yeah, wow.
Uh, and I think it can support something like that. And I would absolutely love to open a store and do trainings. Like I love teaching,
Yeah,
you know, teaching. So that's something like I would love to do,
yeah,
and like educate people on products and tools and equipment and stuff like that.
mhm,
So
yeah.
that's definitely something that we're looking into. And whether or not it pans out, I don't know. Well, all right, Paul. I think I've drug you on long enough for like an
Yeah,
hour.
no
I
worries.
said 30 minutes in the beginning, and hey, it's all good. I think we had some really good content on here.
Definitely.
Um, where can people find you at? And I will link everything down below in the
Yeah,
YouTube description. But where
yeah.
can people find you if they're in the LA area and want one of the best detailers around?
So you could find me. I'm trying to look at what my underscore top dog details is my
Yeah,
IG. Um, I'm pretty active on Instagram. So that's
yeah,
one place people can find me. So underscore top dog details. I started a YouTube channel and I have one video
yeah.
on there. I need to make another one. It really took a lot to get that one video. Editing and all that stuff. But you can find me on YouTube too, and it's at Top Dog Details as well. Um,
Yeah,
those are the two main things. And
yeah. Awesome, dude. I appreciate you coming on, and I look forward to future episodes. Maybe, who knows? Maybe this thing will go big.
of course, man. Yeah. I enjoyed it. Thank you for having me.